Welcome back students to e-learning platform Gyan Mantra Vidyapeeth online education. Students, in today's video lecture we are going to continue our second lesson from our supplementary reader snapshot. The name of this lesson is The Address and the writer of this lesson is Marga Minko. Before we proceed further students, for the next discussion, let's have the revision in within 1 minute of the previous video lecture. Students, in last video lecture we discussed about the lady who is actually the daughter and the family has been died, the mother has been died, she has lost the house, she has lost the family, and now actually she realizes that she should find all the things that she has been lost during World War situation, and that's why she finds out the address when actually the older things are there. She was habituated to talk to the mother when actually the mother was alive. The mother once upon a time told the daughter about the lady, Mrs. Darling, and that's why here the daughter could come to know that actually Mrs. Darling was that habit of collecting, rather stealing the things from the house. Now she wants to recollect the things that are actually of her own possession. That's why she decides to reach at the home. She reached also. She asks Mrs. Darling, and when she met, she could observe the old cardigan wearing by here Mrs. Darling. She could realize that actually that is the same cardigan, same jacket that her mother was wearing. And that's why she asks her, but actually Mrs. Darling did not show any kind of interest and she even didn't welcome her. She didn't allow her to come in, to get in the house. That's why the daughter becomes disappointed. She decides to leave the place. She left the place and she was going to leave the town also. Then she thinks again that actually why did she come here? When she was passing through the streets, the old familiar areas, and when she reached to the station, she realized that why actually she came here to recollect the things of her mother's possession. And that's why she decides to go back at the same place, the same house of Mrs. Darling. Now she goes back, and this time the daughter of Mrs. Darling opens the door. Right now she is not meeting Mrs. Darling and the daughter welcomed her. She allowed her to get in the house. She entered the house and the daughter said that actually Mrs. Darling is not available right now. She is doing something, she is busy, that's why. And the daughter said that actually, the lady said that actually no problem, I will wait. So up to this portion students we discussed in our last video lecture. I had told you students that now it is the different and turning point of this lesson, of this story. What will be happen the next, that is quite interesting. Students, up to this portion we can feel okay, the now daughter is there, she will recollect all the things. Suppose they are not ready to give it, then she will fight also, she will quarrel also, she may claim also, so many things. But among all our these thoughts and ideas, the end of this story is quite different. Then what is that end and what is the ultimate decision made by the daughter who actually has lost the family, the mother and older things? Let's see what she decides. Okay students, suppose you find any difficulty during the lesson, you are free to ask me anytime. Okay, page number 30 in your supplementary reader snapshot, you may keep your book with you. Okay, now let's begin. I followed the girl along the passage. The girl means the daughter of Mrs. Darling. The writer followed her. An old-fashioned iron Hanukkah candle holder hung next to a mirror. We never used it because it was much more cumbersome than a single candlestick. Want to sit down? Now here, what is that? Actually, the writer begins to observe the things and in the entire house, the room. Actually, what she was able to observe, she was able to see. She started the observation, and it so happens that she could realize that actually these are her own things, her own possession, and that's why she becomes more disturbed. Next paragraph. Won't you sit down? Asked the girl. She had opened the door of a living room, and I went inside past her. I stopped, horrified. I was in a room I knew and did not know. I found myself in the midst of things I did want to see again, but which oppressed me in the strange atmosphere, or because of the tasteless way everything was arranged, because of the ugly furniture or the muggy smell that hung there. Actually, she entered the room, she entered the house, she started the observation, all the things all around her. She thinks, rather, she feels that actually this is the house, this is a place where she is able to find everything familiar with her. She started observing the things in the entire house, in the entire room. She could realize that actually these are the same things that she had been lost. That she lost, actually these things are the same things, and that's why she gets disturbed more. Maybe she was not able to stay at the place and she was not feeling well, because actually it was very strange experience for her. The things settled, arranged in the house, these things are very familiar and known to her, and ultimately the things were of her own possession, and that's why she becomes shocked that actually they don't know, and even they knew it, then also they pretend. The Mrs. Darling and the daughter, they are pretending that actually these expensive things are of their own possession, and that's why she becomes more disturbed. And there was a bad smell in the entire house, in the entire room, and that's why she gets disturbed more. I don't know, but I scarcely dared to look around me. The girl moved a chair. I sat down and stared at the woolen tablecloth. I rubbed it. The girl offered her chair to sit, and the lady sat down. The daughter of Mrs. Darling, she also sat down, and now there was a table, and she observed the tablecloth, and now also she becomes shocked. I rubbed it. My fingers grew warm from rubbing. I followed the lines of the pattern. Somewhere on the edge there should be a burn mark that had never been repaired. My mother will be back soon, said the girl. I've already made tea for her. Will you have a cup? Right now, she's finding the kind of burning mark, that it was already burned, she knew, and she was finding, because she found the cloth familiar, she found that actually it was her, and that's why she is finding. And the girl asked that my mother will come back soon, she'll come here soon, and you want a cup of tea, suppose you want, because she had already prepared the tea for the mother. That's why she offers. Let's proceed further. Thank you. I looked up. The girl put cups ready on the tea table. She had a broad back, just like her mother. She poured tea from a white pot. All it had was a gold border on the lid. I remembered. She opened a box and took some spoons out. Now she offers the tea, and the daughter, who has actually lost the family, the mother, she observes the design of cup. There was the border also on the lid, and now there is some stripe. She tries to remember something, and then she observes the spoon also. See students, it will be also of her own possession. That's a nice box, I heard my own voice. It was a strange voice, as though each sound was different in this room. The sounds were different, sounding something different. Oh, you know about them? She had turned round and brought me my tea. She laughed. My mother says it is antique. We have got lots more. She pointed round the room. See for yourself. Now, the daughter of Mrs. Darling, she has no idea that actually these things are of this lady's possession. She is actually honor of all these things, and that's why she laughs and she makes proud also that, oh, don't you know about all these things? These are not ordinary things. These are very antique things. My mother had told me that actually we have a lot of more things like this. See for yourself, means you can see this. And the daughter of Mrs. Darling, she shows it to the girl, the lady. I had no need to follow her hand. I knew which thing she meant. I just looked at the steel life over the tea table. As a child, I had always fancied the apple on the pewter plate. We use it for everything, she said. Once we even ate off the plates hanging there on the wall. I wanted to so much, but it wasn't anything special. I had found the burn mark on the tablecloth. Now finally, it was about something about food, something about apple. She remembers her old memory that actually she likes to eat apple as a child, what she liked, and now finally she got what she wanted to get. She was finding that mark, and finally that burn mark she could get. See, I had found the burn mark on the tablecloth. The girl looked questioningly at me. Now the girl was that much shocked, rather she gave strange expressions, and she was looking at her like questioning that she wanted to ask something. She has no idea that why actually she was looking at the tablecloth, that burn mark, because she didn't have any idea about her mother's things, about Mrs. Darling's activities. That's why. Yes, I said, you get so used to touching all these lovely things in the house. You hardly look at them anymore. You only notice when something is missing because it has to be repaired off because you have lent it. For example, now here the daughter of Mrs. Darling, she doesn't feel any kind of surprising thing when about the older these things and all, because she's habituated to touch all these things every day. That's why. Again I heard the unnatural sound of my voice and I went on. I remember my mother once asked me if I would help her polish the silver. Now again it is about flashback theory. She remembers the older conversation made by the mother. She says that I remember my mother once asked me if I would help her polish the silver. It was about polishing the silver. It was a very long time ago and I was probably bored that day, or perhaps I had to stay at home. because I was ill. As she had never asked me before, I asked her which silver she meant, and she replied, surprised that it was the spoons, forks, and knives, of course. And that was the strange thing. I didn't know the cutlery we ate of every day was silver. She remembers the memory of her childhood. She could remember that actually once upon a time, once day, mother was saying about the polishing of silver. She was not feeling well. The daughter was not feeling well. That's why she denied. And then when she remembered the thing that actually she mesmerized, then again she asked the mother that actually about which thing you were saying me about polishing with simple. And she became surprised that actually the mother was asking for the polishing with silver, the spoons, the forks, and the knives. And that's why she becomes more surprised, because she had no idea that actually with the tools, the things, the pots they were habituated to use it for eating, they were made of silver, polished with silver. Okay students, let's see the next paragraph. The girl laughed again. I bet you don't know it is either. I looked intently at her. What we eat with? She asked. Well, you know. She hesitated. She walked to the sideboard and wanted to open a drawer. I look. It's in here. I jumped up. I was forgetting the time. I must catch my train. She had her hand on the drawer. Don't you want to wait for my mother? Now, again one another thing, the daughter of Mrs. Darling, she was going to show her, but now something has been changed. The mind of the daughter has been changed. Not the daughter of Mrs. Darling, but the daughter who has lost the mother and the family, who has come here as the guest. Her mind has been changed little bit somehow. What is the change? Let's see. She thinks that actually she requires to catch the train. Now she decides to leave. Why? Let's see. And the daughter asks that actually, don't you want to wait for my mother even? Means you want to leave only. Don't you wait for my mother? Don't you want to talk to her? You had come here to talk to her, to meet her. No, I must go. I walked to the door. The girl pulled the drawer open. I can find my own way. As I walked down the passage, I heard the jingling of spoons and forks. Now she left the place, and when she was walking, she went far, little bit from the place. She could hear the voice of the spoons and forks that are actually of her own possession. At the corner of the road, I looked up at the nameplate. Marconi Street, it said, the name of the street. I had been at number 46. The address was correct. Means the address, it was given by the mother when she was alive. The address was correct. She could know. But now I didn't want to remember it anymore. I wouldn't go back there because the objects that are linked in your memory with the familiar life of former times instantly lose their value when served from them. You see them again in strange surroundings. And what should I have done with them in a small rented room where the shades of black-out paper still hung along the windows, and no more than a handful of cutlery fitted in the narrow table drawer? Means whenever we find our former memories, former people, even the streets, the areas, the memories connected with our memory, our past, whenever we find the same things at the strange place, arranged in very strange manner, it becomes not that much valuable. It loses the value from our mind, our heart, and that's why here she decides to leave the place. And what is that if in that kind of dirty and small room they are having all those older things? Now she is not that much careful about all these things. I resolved to forget the address of all the things I had to forget. That would be the easiest. Now she wants to forget all the things, and that is only the easiest way for her. So students, here we ended up this lesson. I hope that you could understand it well. It is all about the name is address. Okay, so it's all about finding the address. Finally, the writer is able to find it out, the address. The writer goes also, reaches also to the address, and then disappointed, then again goes back, and then again she herself decides to leave the place to maintain the older sweet memory of her life. So this is the moral of the story, this lesson. I hope students that you could understand this lesson well. Suppose you find any difficulty to understand or any problem, you are free to ask me anytime. So students, your today's homework is the textual questions given to you on page number 15. You have to note it down. Okay, these 4 questions you will note down in your field book. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.